Namaskaram and a very good evening. I believe I'm audible to you all. So thank you for joining us today. We are going to discuss the 100-day challenge for November 23. This 100-day challenge is intended to help you clear your CA final, CA inter, or any level of exam in just 100 days if you follow this strategy as it is. I believe that is the reason why you have joined us today. And as always, we respect your time. We respect your attention, and that is the reason why it is our responsibility to ensure each and every minute which you're spending today is going to be highly valuable. And I believe you're all equally excited to know more about this challenge. To begin with, this exactly is the context of today's session. We are meeting as a part of the Him Life School 3rd anniversary week. I'll share more about Him Life School, what we do and all. But right now, this is the first day. We are meeting on Monday at 9 p.m. It is all about helping you understand what you should be taking care in the next 100 days so that you can definitely clear for sure. So apart from today's session, tomorrow we are having an exclusive session for group 1 students, then group 2 students, then both groups. Today, I'll cover all the basics, all the fundamentals, a lot of aspects which you have to take care of. And in addition to what is happening today, we'll be covering this specific targets and goals in detail, and followed by a detailed, I would say, full-fledged celebration on of the 3rd anniversary. I'll give you the meeting agenda also in a day. So this day will be complete, where your day starts at 5 a.m. in the morning with Magic of Mornings. And most importantly, you'll also listen to several other chartered accountants who have cleared, and you'll also understand how their life has changed before and after. So that will be very, very insightful and valuable conversations. And after that, we'll start with the orientation, and officially the day 1 review will happen on Monday. So this is the whole week. That is exactly how we are going to celebrate the 3rd anniversary week. And if you look at this, the entire agenda, the entire theme is built on one single objective: how we can help you to clear your CA final or CA inter in November 23. So this is exactly the complete detail of the anniversary week. I'll keep sharing you more details about individual sessions. Okay. Now, how many of you are ready for the challenge? How many of you are ready for the challenge? Before I proceed forward, I want to know how many of you are completely ready for the challenge. Let me understand your readiness. How many hours? See, I'm not asking you whether you're a working professional or a full-time student. Whatever your situation is, think and answer. Do the calculation answer. Do the math and answer. How many hours would you be investing for sure in the next 100 days? How many hours would you be investing for sure in the next 100 days? That is the most important requirement for the challenge. Everybody has 100 days. Everybody has 100 days. The only thing which is different is how many hours are you willing to invest into the challenge? I want responses from every one of you. Total number of hours, guys. Total number of hours. Do the math. Remove the normal law. Total number of hours. Rijwan says 1100. Asif says 1000. Fantastic, guys. Unnati 1200 to 1400. Aryan 800. Vishnu 700. Satlas 1000. Pranav 1000. Akshaya 1000. Wonderful. Wonderful. Pradhana 1100. Nirja 1100. Nigita 1000. Ashish 1000. Ramurti 500. Shavi 1100. Arun Shah 700. Pashi 700. Roshni 1000. Shivraj 500. Pranay 1000. Prem Kumar 1200. Akshara 1100. Wonderful. Akarsha 1100. Manogna 600. Pretty good. So based on your current life situation, you are giving me a number ranging from 500 to 1200. This is the range which I have heard today, and which is very, very reasonable. So before I begin with, let us look at some basics. If you're writing one group, please look at 500 to 600 hours. Please look at 500 to 600 hours. Now I'm giving a general benchmark because it varies individually. If you've already crossed 170, 180, probably you'll require a lot less. If you haven't crossed that, if you are stuck at 130, 140, you might need more hours. So look at 500 to 600 hours at least. 500 to 600 hours, I'm talking about at least. And if you're talking about both the groups, 1000 hours. 1000 hours is what you should look at. 1000 hours. Okay, because we're talking about clearing. We're not talking about attempting both groups. We're talking about clearing both groups. We're talking about clearing one of the groups, right? So in terms of the time frame, yes, you have decent amount of time to begin with. So yes, you're having the right expectations in terms of it. So what we actually do is, one part is your education and career. So when I talk about education, this is the qualification part in terms of completing CA, CWA, CS, or any other UPSC and all of that. We kind of help students clear in a single attempt. And we are going to launch the complete product called One Last Attempt, which is useful for any professional exam. So it's a huge launch on July 22nd. I'll share the details. And apart from this career, the steps which I mentioned, whoever is clearing CA within the first 1 year, they have to start making 10 lakhs. And within the next 15 to 20 years, they should make 10 crores. So we are going to help you build a career in a very, very systematic. We call it designer career. How would you design your dress? How would you design your personality? So your career can be designed in that direction. So from this year, we are going to actively work on this domain also. Now, once your career is sorted, the next most important thing comes in your life is relationships, because most of you are in the age of 25 to 30. So when you talk about relationships, yes, we are mostly talking about a romantic relationship, which I mean you finding your life partner. So generally, the relationship also exists with your parents and all of that. But here, we'll help you to understand what exactly it takes to build a long-lasting relationship. That is one of the dimensions which we do. And health and wealth, you can consider magic of mornings, a dimension in this regard, which will take care of your spiritual and mental and emotional health. Apart from that, wealth. Career is directly proportional to wealth. And we also focus specifically on your income, what is the amount of investment, what is the amount of saving, and all of this. We'll kind of discuss this in detail in further. But right now, this is the kind of support, which means we are willing to give you 360-degree support. So that is exactly why we call ourselves Life School. We are talking about life school, and we are going to support you throughout your life. So at different stages, that is exactly how we want to grow along with you. Okay, so this is a quick context of the anniversary week. Now, talking about some of the messages, we are very happy. Within very probably 3 to 4 hours, we already got 66. Probably now it would have crossed 100. So we are extremely happy with the kind of responses we are getting. So we are listening, we are reading each and everything. We are listening and reading each and everything. So whatever requests you are saying, we'll make sure these will be incorporated. Somebody said this is the best of the kind mentorship in India. So they also said, please keep the prices in the same level. So we would listen to that. We'll do everything. Whatever you're saying, we'll take care of each and every point which you're mentioning. We'll listen to you. And this is the reason why I'm showing this. So any suggestion, any feedback, anything, we'll be respecting that. So your words would not go unnoticed. And thank you for the love once again. And talking about this, once you understand what exactly is the requirement in 100 days, then when you come back tomorrow, you'll be able to see how many of you are still not able to choose whether you have to write group 1 or group 2 or both groups. How many of you are still not able to choose whether you have to write group 1 or group 2 or both groups? Who else? How many of you have this question? Group 1 or group 2 or both groups? Good number of people. Okay. For all those who did not decide, whether they have to write group 1 or group 2 or both, please attend these 3 sessions. Okay. For those who did not decide, for those who have already decided, attend the specific session. For somebody like Prem who has recently cleared one of the groups, you can only attend the group which is pending. So that is exactly what I'm saying. If you're already cleared, or if you have already decided that you're only going to write one of the groups, then attend that session. Otherwise, I recommend you to attend all the 3 if you are not decided yet. Okay. So this is about the session part. Now today, I'll start with this mark sheet. Which is the latest one. The reason is you need to have a clear-cut understanding of the marks. The reason I'm showing both groups is so that everybody can correlate. You should have a reasonable understanding of the marks which you are going to get. And this is one of the very smart and intelligent mark sheets, because previous attempt, she was not even able to clear one group. She was not in the best of the confidence. She was not clear whether she want to write the other group or not. So a lot of questions were there. So this is a very, very, very practical mark sheet. So this is a very, very practical mark sheet. So you need to have a target mark sheet in your mind. So the reason why I'm showing this on the screen right now is all of you should have a target mark sheet on the mind. Tomorrow when you come back, I'll officially capture the details about the target mark sheet. But right now, You don't have to think a lot. Please mention what exactly is your target mark sheet. So let's say you're attempting group 1, right? G1 and then the marks. You don't have to write the subject names in the same order. Let's say 58, 62, 47, 62, or probably 52. Whatever are the marks, please mention your target marks. That will give you some clarity. This thought which I am asking you to think right now is the first step to clarity. Write all of them in a single line. 60, 50, 45, 52, whatever it is. G1, let me write this. For example, in Babika's case, this is the mark sheet, right? Just follow the same order. Don't write multiple messages. Yes, Vishnu wrote it well. Yes. Yes. Write that number. All of you write that number. Okay, so we'll do some math here. So first we looked at the number of hours, right? Now we'll do some math. Even if I've done it already, I want you to redo it today, as of today, based on your preparation. Mention this. So all those who are writing round figures implies that you're not very clear. If I'm seeing round figures, it indicates lack of clarity. That's okay. That's okay, because we want precise marks. We want it to be, happen at a very different level of precision, but that's okay right now. Okay. Now let me take Nirja's example. Nirja, I'm capturing your marks, so you can respond to me further. For example, Nirja wants group 1 60 plus 60 plus 55 plus 55. So this is her score. And then 55 plus 75 plus 55 plus 65. So Nirja, what was your score in the previous attempt? Nirja Shah. What was your score in the previous attempt? Rest of you can follow this example. Nirja, you can text your responses to me or in the chat box. Okay, give me the totals. So here we are looking at a total of 230, right? Group 1, we are looking at a total of 230. 230 is the total in group 1. In your previous attempt, what was the total? So it's 88 plus 40. Okay, fair enough. Let's do this. Okay. So let's look at 160. Okay. Got it. So in your group 1, if I take the average of 150, for example, if I'm taking the average of 150 in your group 1, so we are looking at 230, right? So all those who are having a specific target, do this math. What was your score in the previous attempt? And what is the target in the current attempt? Look at the difference. Look at the difference. I've taken the average of her 2 attempts. So she has to score 80 marks in group 1. In terms of group 2, she already scored 110 plus, let's say she wanted to score 110 plus 140. Let's say 250. She already scored around 200. So 50. So Nirja would need around 130 marks in 100 days, right? So Nirja would need 130 marks in 100 days, which means that every day she should be in a position to score 1.5 marks in the numerator. Every day she should be in a position to score 1.5 marks in the numerator. Now, this is not very easy. This is possible, but on average, for a full-time student, it is easy to score around 1 mark per day. 1 mark per day, if you're following everything, 1 mark per day can be done. Again, it's not by default, it is not easy, but it can definitely be done. 1 mark per day is what can be improved. Most of the candidates, most of the students who do 60-70% efficiency can improve around 60-70 marks easily. 60 to 70 marks in a 100-day span can happen quite easily. 100 marks is also possible. Over and above that, you have to put in some additional effort. Over and above 100 marks, you have to put in some additional effort, because a lot of people have got more improvement. But the whole point is, you need to understand, over and above that, you need to really work upon the, beyond the regular 10 hours. So that is exactly what I have to understand. So all of you quickly look at the number of marks which you have to score additionally. The number of marks which you have to score additionally becomes very important, because let's not have a vague understanding of group 1 or group 2. It is all about where you are and where you have to go. Distance. The distance in terms of the marks. We're talking about distance in terms of the marks. So all of you mentioned the number of marks. All of you mentioned the number of marks which you have to add. All of you mentioned the number of marks which you have to add. The additional marks, yes. See, if you're writing after a very long gap, if you're writing for the very first attempt, just have a fundamental evaluation of where you stand today. Let's say you have to write the exam today. How much would you score? Rough analysis, because even what your friends are mentioning also is not very accurate, because scores change from attempt to attempt and things change a lot. But it is important for us to convert the vagueness into a specific number. I'll give you a simple equation. At the base level. It can be more or less. For every additional mark, you would need 10 to 12 hours. For every additional mark, you would need 10 to 12 hours on average. For every additional mark, you need 10 to 12 hours on average. So all those who have to, decide should have a rough understanding of this. And for people who have written one group and who are writing the group 2 for the very first time, don't consider group 2 as 0. Please, if you're considering group 2 as 0, the calculation will go wrong. For those who are writing for the first time, for those who are given after a very long gap, if you are writing the exams today, what is it you would score? Have a minimal expectation, and then you can add the difference. Okay. So is the quantity or quantification of the hours, days, and marks clear? Because these are the most important metrics. Because Marksheet is hours, Marksheet is marks. In fact, Marksheet has these numbers. None of the emotions, intentions, or motivation, nothing is captured in the Marksheet. So these are the numbers. If the discussion so far is clear, please type clear. Because I want to open up your mind. You have to continuously keep thinking about this. You have to continuously keep thinking about marks. The way you treat money, you have to treat time. The way you treat money, you have to treat time. Or even with far more precision. Nothing should get wasted. That is exactly the whole point. Perfect. Now, all those who are writing both groups and all those who are writing group 1, please have a look at this. Please have a look at this sheet. So you have decided some X amount of marks, right? So what happens is, when you're thinking about a particular goal, if you have to quantify it, generally we have a tendency to make a round figure out of it. We have a tendency to make a round figure out of it. So what right now I'm showing the numbers which are actually possible. Numbers which are actually possible, picking up people with different capabilities across different attempts. So you'll be able to understand what exactly could be the average score. The reason why we have done this average is, it is very clear, right? The difference between FR and law is 10 marks here in terms of average. And also audit, our students generally perform very well in audit. It's not a regular score. Audit is the least scored in group 1 and a lot of people fail. But especially in our super student or super 36 one last attempt and pro, students have a tendency to score this. If you're becoming a part of it, yes, you can also accept this. But if you're an outside student watching it, so there is a better chance of you scoring more marks in law than in audit generally. But here it happens the other way around. So that is exactly why I'm just giving a disclaimer. So now looking at this score, looking at this mark sheets, all those who are writing group 1 or who are writing both groups, think about whose mark sheet can you replicate? Whose mark sheet can you replicate? Let's say for somebody who's scoring 55 in audit and overall score of 215, I think Rishabh's mark sheet is the closest. Whose mark sheet can you replicate? We call it referencing in sociology. I studied for UPSC in sociology. We have a reference model. So what is a reference model? If you're not having something in a tangible manner, it will be hard to replicate. It will be hard to follow. But when you have something clearly, it is very easy to take the next steps. So all of you, based on the understanding so far, whose mark sheet would you like to replicate? Write Rishabh, I would say write their complete name along with CA, whatever is displayed, write their complete name. Whose mark sheet would you like to replicate? Okay. See, so far, I'll just quickly summarize. Only one person, don't get confused, only one. Closest, only one. It is always one book, 1 week per subject, all power of one attempt. That is exactly what we're doing. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we had a goal to clear group 1 in CA final. Okay, done. RCA enter November 23. Done. What is the next logical step? What should happen next? You should be able to clearly understand how much should you be scoring. So that is also done. Next, how exactly are you going to get to that score in terms of a real mark sheet? Now, once you have decided this, we'll capture your data. Right now, I only want you to think. This session is all about expanding your horizon, brainstorming on how exactly should you proceed forward. Now, what I'll do is, we'll provide you detailed case studies, step by step. Where did they start? Where did they start? What happened in this 100 days for them? What happened in this 100 days for them? And how did they land here? Where did they start? What happened? And how did they land? So we want to make, it is not about day clearing. It is all about what you can learn from the journey. Please understand, it is not about day clearing. It is all about what you can learn from their journey. Okay. So when we provide you that, you should start replicating as much as possible. Let's say somebody talks about Rajdeep. Rajdeep has mentioned completely about revision. Rajdeep has mentioned completely about revision. So if you're looking at, for example, let me show you Rajdeep's, how we'll look into it practically. Now, a lot of you have mentioned about Rajdeep, right? Let's see what Rajdeep has mentioned and what has worked for him. Now, if you're looking at what Rajdeep has to say, the experience of SUPER36 is magical. I say so because it solved a problem which we usually face to write. So he's somebody who's stuck in the border. He has been attempting both groups, but he's stuck in the border. So he's mentioning about 5-time revision. So here also he spoke about memory. In the first line itself, he spoke about memory. Then he spoke about 5-time revision. Then he spoke about focus block slots. Then he spoke about ability to retain content for a longer period. So it is all about using a particular memory technique which has gotten the certificate. Simple. He used the 5-time revision process, or he used the set of techniques which you share memory. So the entire focus is on that. That's it. Now, once you identify something, once you know that this is the gap, fix it. Go to the extreme and do everything in the capacity and fix it. That will get resolved. You don't have to solve everything. You should not worry about identifying each and every problem and each and every solution and then spend a lot of time. No. What are the 2-3 things? If you fix, you should be able to clear. What are the critical success factors? What are the critical success factors? These are the most important ones. Critical success factors, right? So in Rajdeep's case, it was simple. He's not able to remember properly. He understood that memory is an issue. So this is what is he's mentioned, which is my personal favorite, as it helps in subject like audit, law, and SCMP. Now I'll tell you one more thing. How was he able to see? Now you're listening to someone who has already implemented. When he joined, how was he so confident? How was he so confident? Like somebody said, revise 5 times. A lot of people hesitate. A lot of students keep thinking that I would rather use this time of 30 minutes to study one more subject and one more chapter. Why should I revise? How many of you have this tendency where instead of revising, you would like to study more? How many of you have this issue? How many of you face it practically? Whenever you have to revise something, you always like to study more. It indicates a lack of confidence. When you're not revising, it clearly indicates a lack of confidence because you don't want to look back. You don't want to review. The reason being, when you try to revise, you are getting tested. You are getting tested. When you're trying to study, there is no testing. You can keep studying. You can always say that, right? I'm preparing. And nobody is trying to evaluate you. So people don't like to evaluate them. That's the reason why there is a lot of resistance. And when we ask them to write day-end revision, or when we ask them to submit the exam mistake tracker, there's a lot of resistance. People don't like to know the truth. If as long as you keep postponing the truth, it'll hit you hard one day. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning about this part is, he also mentioned claims of sir that would be the last investment and last exam of your life is what divided me to join this, and it proved to be true as I became CA Rajdeep now. Now, he took 2 steps with a lot of trust. Step number 1, when he asked in the workshop that should I already invested a lot somewhere, so or a lot in my coaching, how can I invest further? I already wasted a lot of attempts. How can I think of one more attempt? That's what I said. If you follow everything in the next 100 days, this is exactly going to be the result. He trusted me then. Not only that, he came inside, he trusted the process once again. So when you trust something, trust completely. So this is the first level of trust, joining. This is the second level of trust, participating. Anyone missing won't help you. Without joining, obviously you won't get access to everything. Even after joining, if you're not implementing things, it won't be useful. So it's okay what you want to trust about. It could be revision, it could be something else, but identify something, go to complete extreme. And in many other case studies and testimonials also, will say hardly 1 or 2 techniques are helping them clear. You don't need all the 9 techniques. 1 or 2 techniques will help you clear. Okay, so this is why we just looked at it. He also got exemptions in FR, SFM, and law. Okay, so the reason why we looked at is he was talking. Some of you are choosing this. Some of you are choosing this. So that is the reason why we came here. So let's get back to the mark sheet once again, and then I'll come back to the schedule. So we'll spend further time tomorrow. Also tomorrow, I'll capture your responses. All those who are joining us tomorrow will capture all the response in a very specific format. Okay, so that is what is going to happen tomorrow. I'll send you a sheet and all. Now let's look at group 2. People who are writing group 2 and people who are writing both the groups. Now you can tell me whose mark sheet you want to replicate. I have picked up something as low as 202 also, because we are giving you all possible ranges. Somebody scored 230, somebody scored 209. That's okay. But I'm giving you all possible ranges. You pick up whose score sheet is the closest to you, whose mark sheet is the closest to you. So similarly, we'll schedule case studies of what they have done. Okay, and same, so that you'll understand the complete journey. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is you need to hang on to something. You need to hang on to a real person. It is always important for you to hang on to a real person so that it's easy to replicate. Motivation is not a person. Artificially getting motivated is not going to take you anywhere. You need to have a proper reference in terms of what has to be done. Okay, we'll dig deep into this particular part. So based on the discussion so far, let's have a revised target for the 100-day challenge. Now, this is the most important sentence. The last 40 minutes we invested is to arrive at this. Based on the revised target, let's define your 100-day challenge. Okay, I want to define a 100-day challenge. What is a 100-day challenge? Let's say 62 marks in 800 hours. 62 marks in 800 hours is the challenge which you are trying to overcome in 100 days. Understood? What is the difference marks which you have to score to pass? And what are the number of hours? So mention the target clearly. Mention the target clearly. Let's say I have to score 50 marks. Let's say I have 800 hours. Mention that. That exactly is the 100-day challenge. That exactly. 80 marks in 700 hours. That is Vishnu. Okay. Satlash, 204 marks in 1000 hours. Okay. Others. 89 marks in 600 hours. Unnati, 65 marks. I do not understand. 76 marks in 1100 hours. 87 marks in 540 hours. 72 marks. Please write the numbers clearly. 115 marks in 1000 hours. 50 plus in 1000. 110 in 1000. 150 in 1100. 76 in 600. Okay. So based on this, I also want you to check the mark sheets or the targets of others also, so that you'll have an understanding. Most of them are in the range of 9 to 10 hours per mark. Most of them are in the same range. They're giving around 9 to 10 hours. So that is a reasonable size. Plus or minus can happen. Exception situation can happen. A lot of things can happen. But let's look at century can be scored in 31 balls like AB de Villiers, with an exception. Generally, it will score in 85 to 90 balls, right? In the recent days, 85 to 90 balls is at least what they're taking. So I'm giving you that number. RN, you have a fantastic advantage. RN, you have a great advantage. Okay, so this, when we talk about 100-day challenge, this is the challenge. How can we score this number of marks in this number of hours? So this is where time has become a constraint, right? Now you're noticing time has become a constraint. Tomorrow, when you have to watch a movie for 3 hours, tomorrow, when you have to attend a friend's birthday party for 6 hours, your denominator is getting reduced. The marks are not getting reduced. The denominator is getting reduced. Understand? So that is how you have to take decisions. Let's say I have to spend 1 hour and watching Facebook, or 1 hour and doing something. So either you're studying actively for preparation, or you're doing something which is linked to preparation. Let's say you're sleeping. Sleeping is good for preparation, because when you rest properly, you'll come back and study better. You're eating, you're getting energy. You're taking rest, you're getting energy to come back and prepare better. So direct preparation at this session, this is going to enhance the quality of your preparation. So either direct preparation or indirect preparation. That's it. Nothing else. If it's not adding a mark directly or indirectly, don't do that. No matter whatever is the benefit coming out of it, don't stop doing things which are not linked to this equation. I'm giving a very, very simple decision-making factor. If you have to do something which is not directly impacting this equation, if this is not impacting your target, if this is not directly adding value to this target, don't do anything about it. Ignore, leave. Everything else can wait. Everyone can wait. Clearing CA should be the most important thing. Only then enter the 100-day challenge. If you have 100 things in 100-day challenge, no. 100-day challenge is all about having one thing. One thing, that's it. When you have only one thing, that will become one last attempt. When you have 3 things, that will go to 3 attempts. So if the targets, if the process, if the approach is clear to the extent we have discussed, please type clear. I'll proceed forward. I'll have to introduce one more concept. I want to introduce one more concept today. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the responses. So now, for that to happen, for this mark sheet to happen, practically, or for this mark sheet to happen, there is one central framework. There is one standard framework. There is one important framework. This is it. This is the most important framework. This is the most important framework to make the target happen. Okay. So you need to understand, if you have to clear the entire group, or if you have to clear both the groups, if you have to clear the aggregate, if you have to clear that, whether you're writing final one group or both groups, anything, any exam, when you're writing a 100-mark exam, you have to score 50 plus. This is the most powerful, simplified, and standard format. Exceptions will happen. Don't worry about exceptions. Let's always focus on what can happen most of the time. Exceptions will always happen. So your mind should stop thinking about exceptions, should stop thinking about excuses, and start getting into execution. Okay, exceptions and excuses should be strictly cut off from your mind. One day you could not study, that's okay, it's an exception, leave it. So all the exceptions and excuses, don't bother about it. They keep happening, that's not the point. But this can happen most of the time. Out of 8 papers, this can happen at least for 6 papers. So what exactly are we talking about? So when you're given only 3 hours to portray, to showcase what has to happen or what has happened in your preparation, it has to be very strategic. It should be like a TED talk. TED talk, 16, 17 minutes, very, very precise, very, very sharp TED talks, right? So it should be like that. Now, what should you do? You should time everything. What exactly are we timing here? We are breaking the exam into 3 sub-components. Component number 1, cross 24 plus. Super aggressive, very calculated, and a systematic approach where you are touching what you know, where you're touching what you already know, what you're good at. Now, what does that imply? It clearly implies there should be at least 40% of the syllabus. When I say 40 marks, let's say 100 marks, right? 40 marks is 40% syllabus in a way. 40% syllabus. In terms of chapters, it's only 15-20%. 40 marks will come from 15-20%. We'll discuss that, but let's assume 40%. 40% of syllabus, you should know so well. You should know so well that no matter what question is coming, no matter how difficult the exam is, no matter how difficult the evaluation is, you should be able to cross. You should be able to cross. I'm not asking you to be efficient. I'm not asking you to be accurate in the entire 100 marks. I'm only asking you to be super good in just 40 marks. Isn't this a fair ask? Isn't this fair? Expecting a student to be really good in just 40 marks of the subject. If you think it's fair, please say fair. It's fair, right? We are not talking about 100 marks. Let's focus on this. Let's focus on this. Now, when you're doing, now I'll solve all the questions which you have and which you might get. Some of you might have started with Bootcamp. Some of you might start, I would say everyone would have started with Bootcamp. Some exceptions, you would have started with RTP or MTP alone. I would have given you 1 day to complete a set of RTPs or MTPs. All of this, all these steps, even the 10-day strategy, all these steps are clearly intended to help you achieve this. So the bootcamp are This is 5-day. This is 7-day base camp. We have 3 things. We'll complete syllabus only 3 formats. 7-day base camp or 10-day strategy. These are the 3 things. So for a particular subject, we're only giving 10 days. Now you might ask me, how is this enough? If you're thinking, how is this enough? Let me ask you, you would have already spent 3 months, 2 months. If you're writing 2 attempts for one group, you have spent 10 months, which means you have given 2.5 months to a subject on average. It would be even more if you have to count the coaching part also. So when you're giving 2 to 3 months for a subject, if it is not enough, what is enough? So that question should not arise at all. What is enough? Because 2.5, 3 months is not enough, right? You understand? Or even if you are given one at probably 5, 6 months and coaching time another 2, 3 months. So if you're giving at least 1.5 months, which is 50 days, 50 days is anyways not enough, right? So my point being, we're going in the wrong direction, which clearly means that that was a wrong direction. So when I say did not give you that past part, it implies that your preparation went in the wrong direction, as simple as nothing else. You might have some strong reasons, you might have very solid reasons why you could not do it. That's okay. We're not worrying about reason. We're just looking at the fact whether somebody got admitted into ICA or not. Is it pass or fail? If it's fail, it indicates that the direction was somewhere wrong, because I'm not even getting into the speed and effort. So here, don't think of it, because the quantum is not helping. The quantity which we are talking about is not helping. Should I write 50-day strategy for each subject? You already tried that, did not work out right. So you need to understand there has to be a starting line, there has to be a deadline, there has to be a logical deadline, there has to be a logical conclusion. So I could make it 6-day boot camp, 8-day base camp, or 12-day strategy, or 3-day boot camp, whatever it is. But when we analyzed all these people, when we analyzed all these schedules, this is the sweet spot. 7 days has turned out to the sweet spot. Most of the students who have earlier scored 25 in a particular subject are comfortably able to move to 45 within 7 days. That is something which has come to us out of a lot of experience. It has come to us. And that is the reason why we have kept 7-day base camp at the base. And to start with, we are giving you 5-day boot camp. And once you are done with it, for people who are comfortable, we are directly asking 10-day strategy. So the objective of this is to cross this. Now, let's say customization, this is where it comes into picture. Let's say you're studying a subject for the very first time. If you're studying a subject for the very first time, you'll move from 0 to 15 in 5 days. You'll move from 0 to 15 in 5 days. Let's say you're someone who already scored 20 in audit. If you do the boot camp, you can move from 20 to 30. If you already scored 35, you can touch 45 in this boot camp. Same boot camp, but depending on the starting point, the way you extract the knowledge, the way you understand the concepts will be different. So you don't have to worry about what else has to be done next. You have to focus upon what can be done in the next 5 days. How much can you progress further in the next 7 days, next 10 days? This is not enough, may not be enough, need not be enough. 10 days are not enough. Everybody understands it, but you have to start, right? You cannot study the 50 days for a subject. That's okay. So don't allow your mind to start cribbing. So the reason why I'm telling you is, I'll tell you one thing very clearly. Don't try to identify causes for dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction is a disease. Dissatisfaction is a disease. I see that a lot of students are constantly self-torturing themselves. There is a self-torture mode where they're very cringy. They're not letting themselves to move forward. They're very critical. When you are very critical and when you are very harsh, your mind would get intimidated. At some point after, it would start giving up. So as I said in one of the sessions, expectations are there, but the game is all about acceptance. You need to start accepting things, that you cannot study the same pace every day, or you cannot automatically jump into a different mode. It will take time. So acceptance becomes very, very important. So all of you are getting started, at least for the next till the end of July. Only focus on this aspect, where what is your starting point and what is the maximum you can reach in this 5 days or 7 days or 10 days as applicable. How many of you are finding this relatable? See, we are going deep. I'm not saying something simple. You have to put in your mind, you have to think through this. How many of you are finding this relatable? So you have all these questions. You generally have all these questions, right? So is 10 days enough, 5 days enough, 7 days enough, 5 days, there is something else which is left out. And I'll tell you something about how to accept or how to implement. It's very hard for human mind. I'll give you something very practical. Whenever we present this, we kind of share the mentorship blueprint to a lot of people so that we can get some level of improvement. Some people give improvement and some people are consciously critical. They audit it. I'll tell you the problem with it. If somebody comes and try to advise us, a lot of people do that. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you add this? Now my response would be resign your job, spend 10,000 plus hours, help 1,000 plus CAs clear, like in this 10,000 hours or in the period of 3.5 years, directly, indirectly, in all possible, the workshops, mail, all together, hit 1,000, at least hit 500 people. Do this, come back and talk to me. With ground zero, without any base, don't talk bullshit. Because it is easy to comment on something very vaguely. Now, next time when you feel like commenting on a movie, for example, you did not like a movie called Bahubali, say this to yourself. The reason why I'm telling you is it builds a particular personality, it builds a strong character. When you get this thought, a book should have been written better, a movie should have been done better. Stop everything, write that book, and then compare this book and this book. Or start producing a movie or directing a movie. Get that output and then compare. Don't compare your thought with somebody's output. Do not compare your thought with somebody's output. If you look at this in this perspective, it'll be easy for you to start adapting ICA material or the faculty book or the faculty video or the stuff, anything. Whenever your mind gets you, whenever your mind innovates and makes you to innovate on something, it is easy to change things. It is very difficult to implement things as it is. So next time when you find it hard to implement something, just say this to yourself, okay, this is not good. Let me start building this strategy. Or let me start writing a book. Or let me complete lecture series for audit. If you say that to yourself, you'll get realistic. You'll get practical. You won't get unnecessary distractions and deviations. So this is exactly what you have to say to yourself, because it's not about what you say to others. It's all about what you say to yourself. It is all about what you say to yourself. Every thought matters. You should not accept any mediocre thoughts. You should not let your own brain disturb you. You should set it right once for all. You should set it right once for all. If you're finding this sensible, if you're finding this, see, I know that I'm hurting you, I know that I'm offending you, but I believe all of you understand what is making me say this. If you're finding this sensible, please step sensible, so that I'll get to know both of us are on the same page. Today, when we looked into the form, like, do you have any special message? A lot of messages were like, sir, when I could not believe myself, in every mail you write, number one believer, you're number one believer. So you believed me before myself. I was able to clear C. I was able to clear Group 1. I never thought I would complete and all of that. Now, one thing which I'm telling you, whether you believe yourself or not, I still believe you because it's not a random belief. You've done so much. I appreciate you for taking a decision to join CA. I appreciate you for clearing foundation, for cracking intermediate, for completing articleship, for doing something in final, and still staying in the game, still not giving up. So you have done something. So I always look at you comprehensively. I don't look at things on a given moment because somebody has built something over a period of time. One particular day it will go up or down. Virat Kohli might face a duck or three ducks in a row. That's okay. It's a bad season. That's okay. Now when you're having a bad season, couple of attempts bad season. That's okay. Doesn't matter much. That I believe you, but I don't believe you're bullshit. Now what do I mean by bullshit? You need to understand everything works in an algorithm. For you to do something in life, 90% of things have a step-by-step process. When you're not aware of the process, you keep thinking innovatively randomly. You think it's innovation, it's actually randomness. But there is a very, very clear cut and certain and a particular path. If you want to understand this, when you look at the top of the mountain, it looks like it's a vertical path from down. But once you start climbing, you need a guide, right? It's not very clear. It happens that you can get lost while climbing up a mountain. It's a very good possibility. Now, even a forest, it looks like it can go through a straight line. But once you enter, it's a maze. So always focus on identifying the algorithm. What is the algorithm? Step-by-step process to do something. Now, you cannot understand it from this way, going from 0 to 1, 0 to 10. You cannot understand from 0 to 10. You can only get it from 10 to 1. Cleared, what is her marks or what is the score sheet, mark sheet of him. For him to do this, what did he do? What happened in the middle? Where did he start? 10 to 1. That's why Steve Jobs says we cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can always connect the dots looking backward. It's hard to connect the dots looking forward. So once again, I'm just removing this out of your brain forever. I don't want to maintain this stuff forever. It's waste of time for you and me. Because once you're attending the session, this randomness, this resistance which is coming in your brain should completely go away. I'm hitting sniper shots. I'm not trying to destroy it with toothpicks. That nonsense I'm not doing. Completely sniper shots. It should be completely removed off your brain. Tomorrow, you should be in a different mode. I'm getting you ready since a week. Like when I say getting ready, readiness is not excitement. Readiness is not the motivation. Readiness is not the newness. No, that is not readiness. But readiness is not the transaction. Just because you pay, that is not getting ready. It's just a simple thing. It's only one of the things. What is getting ready? Understanding what it takes. Understanding the kind of internal tuning. Understanding the kind of internal tuning. Why it is required. Why it is needed. So you're in the right direction. The fact that you're able to take a decision to be a part of this explains that you're looking for mature content, you're looking for an improvement, you're looking for a transformation. That clearly explains it. But having said that, at every stage, you have to break the status quo. You have to start rebuilding. You have to sculpture yourself. Now, this is one such session where I'm setting a very strong context. So until now, if there's a bulb on moment for you, like what is a bulb on moment? You're thinking it has to happen this way, but you realize it's something else. Mentors ka dimag ka bati, right? Call it dimag ka bati. Suddenly, you get a spark. Now, if you have experienced one or two sparks here, please type bulb on. I'll be able to understand how many of you are getting because this is a very different session. I have spent so much time on a single slide. If you're able to experience a spark where, okay, it's hitting you hard, very, very sharply and swiftly. If you experience such movement at any point of time in the last 55 minutes, please type bulb on. Please type bulb on. Thanks for the quote. I'll add it in one of the slides. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So I just wanted to open up the space because it's a test match for 1 week. Like you would be attending at least another 3 sessions. So I want to remove what is stopping you, what is getting you stuck, and all of that, and we'll keep building it. Okay. Today is the base. So whatever might take 90 days of maintenance, we're doing it once for all. I'll tell you one more important thing. Probably this is the last thing which I want to share. See, whether it's an exam, or whether it's an interview, or whether it's a sales pitch, or whether it's a workshop like this, or whether it's a casual conversation, you're always trying to convey something and you're trying to get validation, right? Now, what is an exam? You're writing something. Like there is a trigger, there is a context. What is a question? Question is a context. Now, for today's session, our third anniversary is the context. Probably 100-day challenge introduction is a context, today's session, right? Now, context is fine. Context is clear. But how am I responding to the context? How well I'm responding, how prepared I am, how genuine I am, how capable I am is the response, right? That is exactly how you'll derive a particular experience. Now, based on that, if I ask you to write, if you ask you to review, or if you ask you to give me a rating, you may write it quantitatively. If not, in your back of your mind, you'll realize that, okay, I've taken the right decision. Probably those who have yet to take a decision, they would like to come in. Different things happen because of this. Now, similarly, when you're writing the exam, question is a context. You're reacting and responding in a particular way. And then you're expecting the examiner to get impressed. You're expecting the examiner to validate what you have written, right? Now I'm also expecting you to validate what I'm saying so that you can trust the process and follow and become a chartered accountant. That is the reason why I'm pushing you. I'm probably trying to get your validation to ensure your commitment and implementation throughout this. Now, when you're talking about validation of an examiner, look at how you're approaching. Look at how you're trying to get validated. Are you trying to convey to the examiner in a very bold and straightforward manner? Okay, what happened? Yeah. So, in a very bold and straightforward manner, where this is what I know, this is what I believe is right. Please evaluate me. Please validate me. This is the ideal way of approach. You do not have to worry about what you don't know, because the exam is all about knowing what you know. Please see, this looks simple, this looks obvious, but it is not obvious. I'll also give you a very practical example of how you took a decision in our own case. But before that, let me help you get the context of it. So when you're going to an exam at an attitude level, you should be like reasonably proud of your work. See, there are gaps. I'm telling you, there are gaps. There will be gaps. I'm not denying that, and you should not be in denial of that. There is always scope for improvement. But examination is a short context. They're expecting you to get only 40-50% right. They're not asking you to write 70% right. For 40-50%, most of all of you are mentioning the mark sheets, especially somebody like Needja. I just had a discussion. She has done the work that is good enough for her to clear. Now, there are different ways of looking at it. You can always say, I did not revise enough, I did not write it properly, or I did not practice the exam. This is one way. But if you look at it, is it because of my practice? Right now, you look at it. Is it because of the practice? Do you think I would have went through all the slides and practiced all of this? Now, why is it creating an impact? If you understand, I looked at the context. I did the hard work. Now, when the presentation comes, I'm not desperate to impress you. All I do is, I know something very clearly. I've tested it hard enough. And I'm sure if I convey something at the best of my capacity, people will be able to evaluate and appreciate it. That's it. So when you're writing the exam, this is the approach which you should go with. Do not play hide and seek. Never play hide and seek. Don't try to insert, some bad answer in between. One line upper, one line niche. When you look at it, it should be very fair and frank. Now, this is what I always did. See, a different side of me. When I cleared CA, I was hardly interested in studies at all. Forget about CA. I'm not a studious academic guy. Everything is a byproduct of how I think. Like my qualifications are everything which I built. I'm not somebody who's very strict studious or whatever it is. But you need to understand, I always communicated to the examiner. There are many exams, especially FR or accounting for that at that point of time, advanced accounting and all of that. I never tallied balance sheets. Because when you know that the steps which you are writing are reasonably right, the idea is not to look at that arithmetical accuracy which a calculator would do. I would always look at, if I have to type all those numbers, multiple numbers, in terms of tallying it, it might take 7 to 8 minutes. So more than my multiplication or typing ability, if I use that 7 to 8 minutes and trying to answer something else, he'll be able to, better judge my skill. Now, see, don't take it out of context. I'm not asking you not to tally this. But I always try to talk, because for me, exam is like a written interview. I always try to talk. I always try to communicate. And this is what I do, boss. This is what can be done. So I believe this is done. So probably you might remove 1 mark, 1.5 mark there. But here is where I'm getting the additional 2.5 marks. So this is exactly how I was able to, clear some of the papers which I would not have cleared. Because there was a time constraint, the paper is lengthy. And sometimes you always get bounces in all attempts. Every attempt, every group, there is at least one bouncer. One bouncer will happen no matter how much you prepare. Even for the mentorship students, you can see the scores, right? There will be at least 145. 145 will happen. So for all of this, for you to navigate, I'm giving you something very deep here. So please be reasonably proud of yourself. It's okay. Don't let I'm not trying to motivate you. I'm not trying to motivate you. Failure is a fact. I'm not trying to start covering up the emotional part of it. Failure is a fact. Accept it. You fail, you fail. End of story. That's it. Don't add because don't write disclaimers on our mark sheets. But people say, I got 172. I prepared for half day, 1 day. See, I'll tell you something very frankly. If somebody says, I got 172. Okay, fair enough. And then he says, then she says, I prepared only for a week. What you're trying to actually convey is, I got 172, okay, I failed, that's it. This is normal understanding. When you add this disclaimer, I prepared only for 1 week, or I prepared only for 2 weeks, you're trying to say you're a fool. Only a fool would go with that level of under preparation. Now, everybody knows that they're trying to act cool by saying that they're prepared for 1 week, half week, 1 week, 172 won't happen. Everybody knows that. Now, when you add this useless disclaimers in the guise of, protecting your mental capability, that will actually make you sound like a fool. So what I'm trying to tell you once again here is, inherently, if something did not happen until now, that's okay. Accept it as a fact. Accept it. It's a fact. That's it. It did not work out. That's it. Accept it. From now, go with this, positive, go with this confident or proud attitude that be proud of your efforts. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Be very, very, very proud of your efforts. And this is exactly how we kind of deal everything. Externally, your experience with the faculty should be different. But when we have to enter as a new ecosystem into the market, we'll get a very dark and different side of that. Like, it's very hard, it's very hard. Any business is hard. I'm not complaining. But then when you have to sustain, you have to go with a particular approach. You have to adopt a strategy. You have to adopt a policy. Now, what I'm suggesting you is go with a brutally honest policy. Go with a brutally clear approach where accept failure, do not defend yourself, make this the starting point, and be proud of your efforts as you proceed forward. When you decide to invest 100 days of your life into clearing an exam, 100 days of your life into clearing an exam, you'll clear the exam. End of story. That's it. Don't create daily possibilities. Can I clear? Can I clear? That's useless. That you don't know. Even I don't know. But the point is, you decide to go for the journey, just focus on this. At any point of time, focus on the now, not why you have failed and whether will you clear. These are useless questions. What can be done today? What can be done now? What can be done tomorrow? The maximum now is 50 minutes. Now is equal to 50 minutes. Don't think beyond 50 minutes. Do not think beyond 15 minutes. This is the golden rule which I would like to tell you today before we conclude. So let this revolve in your mind for 30 seconds. Let this revolve in your mind for 30 seconds. Let this sink in. Let this sink in. We discussed a lot. Let this sink in. Now I'll help you consolidate this information, or rather you can call it transformation. I'll give you a short exercise now. Once you're done with this, 30 seconds are probably